So, as you know, or as I hope you know, RRSP deadline is fast approaching. It's March 3rd, 2025. We're really just a couple days away. And there's a few things you should know before contributing and while contributing to RRSPs. First off, don't feel pressured that you have to contribute before the deadline. Not everyone does it make financial sense to be making a lump sum contribution. There are some people who save their money over the course of a year, maybe because they're self-employed or commission-based. Maybe it just makes sense for them, so they do save that amount and make that lump sum now. If that is you, you may want to consider setting up systematic contributions or pre-authorized contributions, depending on where you are banking and how they say it. That can make it more efficient, and it can just save you from coming up with that lump sum at the last minute. So let's get into it. So first and foremost, knowing your RRSP room available to you before you make any type of large contributions. You can find this information out on your notice of assessment, logging into CRA My account, or by calling the CRA. Probably don't call them right now because I imagine they're very busy at tax time. Second thing is, what is your income? So depending on your income, really depends on if RRSPs make sense. Kind of my rule of thumb is if you make under 50,000, you're probably not in a high enough tax bracket that you really want to be squeezing those pennies and putting them into an RRSP. You may want to put them in another vehicle like a tax-free savings account, and we'll talk about that in another video. If you're making 50, 55,000, 80, 100,000 or more, absolutely. RRSPs definitely make sense. Just the question is, how much should you put in? Now, in saying that, regardless of your tax bracket, if your employer offers a savings plan, free money is free money. Take it. Doesn't matter your income, it's free money. And the key about knowing what your income is depending on your tax bracket now, although you can invest and grow your money in RRSPs, and we're deferring the tax for later on, you may be in a higher tax bracket when you withdraw. So really understanding your tax bracket now can save you a lot of pain later on. I always kind of say to clients who are those teachers or nurses who are fortunate to have pensions, and this is another conversation, is if you are someone who will be having a true pension, so like a teacher or nurse, sometimes RRSPs can kind of slap you on the butt when you go to withdraw. Not saying that they shouldn't be contributing to RRSPs, but probably shouldn't be their sole focus. And there are different investment vehicles like tax-free savings. Okay, so are you a business owner? So if you're a business owner, sometimes your accountant may actually say, don't contribute to an RRSP. Depending on the type of business you have, you may want to save that room for later on. So if I think of someone who maybe owns a trucking company and they're thinking of selling the business, they may save that RRSP room when they need it during that time of sale. Now, if there's someone who has a trucking business and they're passing that business down to children, then maybe they're making contributions along the way because having that RRSP room isn't as needed. Maybe it doesn't make as much sense to hang on to it. So business owners are very unique. Regardless of what type of business you have or income that you're making, if you are looking to make sizable contributions, always talk to an accountant. Just quickly before we go, I'll talk on RRSP loans. So if you're rushing into the bank these last 2 months, probably every financial institution is pushing RRSP loans. And although it's a great option for people who need and benefit from that deduction, it doesn't always make sense to everyone who is it being offered to. Again, this is where working with an accredited financial planner comes into play, as well as working with an accountant. So something to think on if you're being offered an RRSP loan and you're heavily considering it is, what is the interest rate? So it's typically prime. Sometimes they can be prime plus. And, prime interest rates are still high. So interest rates are high. What is your tax bracket? And, are you really receiving the benefit from that credit, now we're paying interest. Am I reaping enough back? And will it reward me later on down the road when I go to withdraw? So those are a couple tips before you contribute to RRSPs. Again, this is really relevant throughout the year, so it's not just related to our RRSP season, but because we're on the topic, okay, happy investing.